All right, thank you, Gideon and Jack. Hello, Aces. It's Mr. Freese here, and we are here with Mrs. Haggerty, Lena, and Raquel, and we would like to do a little spotlight on student foreign exchange. So they're going to tell us a little bit about themselves, their experience, and we'll take it from here. So we're going to start with Mrs. Haggerty, and then girls, you can kind of answer this question as well. But Mrs. Haggerty, introduce yourself and just kind of share briefly your experience of foreign exchange.
My name's Kate Haggerty, and I was a foreign exchange student a long time ago. I went from July of 1999 to 2000, July of 2000, and I went to a place called Solothurn, Switzerland, and I lived with 3 different families while I was there. I turned 18 shortly after I went, so mine was more of a cultural exchange. Back then, they let us go after you graduated from high school, and it was more about learning the culture. I still attended their version of high school, but none of the grades counted, which was really nice. I could just mostly concentrate on learning the language and learning how they lived life there.
Okay, Lena, so where is home for you?
So obviously my name is Lena. I'm from Hungary, and I am doing exchange 2025-2026, obviously, and I'm a junior in high school, and I'm with the Rotary Youth Exchange Program.
Okay, so Lena, for our audience, because I know I had to ask you this, can you please pronounce your last name the correct way for our audience?
Yes, so the way I pronounce it is Lakatos.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
And Raquel, you have not had your experience yet, so why don't you tell us what you're going to be doing next year?
My name's Raquel, and I will be going to Spain, more specifically a town called Arroyo Molinas. It's about 16 kilometers away from Madrid.
All right, awesome. So Lena, we'll start with you on this question. You're coming to the end of your experience. In your opinion, what has been the biggest challenge about being an exchange student?
Well, I think it's sort of losing your safety net, your friends and family, and those who you've always been around your entire life, and that just suddenly is just gone, and you don't have those people to count on. And I think the way to just I overcame that is to just give yourself time. Just give yourself time to adjust and give yourself some grace, because it is such a big change that, a lot of people would not be brave enough to do it, so.
It definitely takes some courage for sure. Now, Mrs. Haggerty, you said it was a long time ago, so if you remember, what were some of the biggest challenges? And I know times were different. We're time, before cell phones and things like that. You can't FaceTime your parents. So
Yeah.
What were some of the major challenges?
Well, to piggyback off that, I think that was one of the biggest challenges, is missing your family, your friends. Back then, like you said, there were no cell phones. I got my first email address when I was in Switzerland, and so my parents weren't really up on that, and so we sent letters back and forth. I called them maybe once every 2 months because it was so hard, it was so expensive. But something we did, I know this sounds ancient, but we used to have these little tiny cassette recorders, and we would record our voices so that we could still hear each other, and we would send those little cassettes back and forth. And so that meant a lot because I could still hear their voices. But I think just like that was, besides the language barrier, because I knew a little bit of German, but that was hard. But I would say by month 3 I was pretty fluent in the language, so I think that really helped me feel more comfortable in my surroundings once I was there.
So Raquel, I'm sure you're getting nervous, anxious, excited. In your research, what do you feel that your biggest challenges could be?
For me, I personally think the language barrier is going to be a hard challenge for me, because we had a conference back in January where we set up with this tutoring website, and the dude, he requires 16 hours, and then our district governor requires, well, not district governor, the Rotary Exchange chair, she wants 20 hours, And I have had so many cancellations from multiple different tutors to the point where I've struggled to meet those deadlines. So being able to learn the language has been harder to do, even though it's one that would be easier to learn here in the States. I think it's going to be harder to get used to the language, but I know immersion is the best way to learn a language. So I know it'll be a lot easier once I get there.
All right, cool. So on that, Raquel, then, what are you most excited about then? You know, with what you've learned about where you're headed?
I'm really excited for all the differences that I'll get to see. Like, Hicksville's a population of 3,000. My Arroyo Molinas is 30,000. So that'll be neat getting to see how like different countries and different towns function. And there's also like a big mall in my town that I know I'm going to be hanging out at.
Awesome. Yeah, so malls aren't as popular, I don't think, in the United States anymore, so that'll be fun for you. So Lena, what has been the most enjoyable part of this, and who would you say also that you feel has been the most influential while you have been here?
So probably the best part was the recent trip to Fort Lauderdale during the spring break. And I mean, I've been with my host family, shout out to the Guilfords and Hillary, and we already got used to each other, and it was just so great to spend that week with them and just, I don't know, vacation and have fun, and I really enjoyed that.
Okay, awesome. And then Mrs. Haggerty, you know, I think one nice thing about your experience is you've had the opportunity to live life after that. We're the same age. We won't let the audience know how many years ago that was, but you've been able to apply those experiences to your own life and reflect back. So through that reflection, what do you think was the most valuable, enjoyable part of your experience?
Well, this kind of goes back to the initial question about what was hard. And we said it really takes courage. And I remember I had never flown on an airplane before. And my first trip to an airport, my first time on an airplane, was going overseas completely by myself. I was a nervous wreck. I remember I was really sick the day I left. And I had no idea what I was doing. But then you get over there, you're forced into all these uncomfortable situations you've never been in a place that does not speak your language, food you haven't tried before. And I just found through it how courageous and brave I truly was. My parents never thought I'd be able to do it. And I just found that now, every time I am greeted with a difficult situation, I know I can do it, whether it's running a marathon or my first job. I interviewed at a place in Columbus, and they're like, when can you start? And I was like, well, when do you need me? And they're like, Monday. So I had to move to Columbus 3 days, lived on a couch at my friend's house. So in all of these difficult situations, I just think it's taught me that I am brave enough and strong enough to conquer anything.
All right, great. And I think, another thing that perhaps the audience we take for granted, and again, we're the same age, is the world was a lot smaller back then. We didn't have the internet to go and research at the push of a button to find out about different countries and to have the vast amount of resources. So I'm sure you were going in a lot more blind than perhaps these two are. Real quick, what would you say, and I'll focus on you two here. Lena, what would you say you've noticed is probably the biggest cultural difference?
I think just a lot of cars. I mean, Europe is so walkable. And I've heard before on the internet that people are training sometimes to go to Europe when they're going on their Euro vacation too, because you walk everywhere. It's like either public transportation or walking, because everything is just, I don't know, it's more evident to just walk because you don't need a car. And even as a student who is going to be going to university soon, I don't need a car because I can just ride the train or the bus or the tram, and that's probably something that I've felt was so different, is that I cannot just take the public transportation to places, or to Fort Wayne maybe, or stuff like that. So.
All right, Mrs. Haggerty?
Very similar. You can ride the train absolutely everywhere and then walk from there, because it's just way smaller than the United States, where you need cars. But also something else that I found, and when I was thinking on these questions last night, I just felt as though life was way more relaxed there. I always say that was probably the most relaxed in my life I've ever been was during that year. Because here I feel like we're involved in this and we got to go here, and it's just a constant rat race. And when we were there, they would have a 2-week ski vacation and they would just go skiing or snowboarding for 2 weeks. They just didn't seem to be in such a rush. For us, even now, we might sit down for a 20-minute dinner and then we got to go again because we have something else on the docket. But there, they would sit down for 3 hours and eat dinner or lunch or whatever it was. And I just felt like, at least in Switzerland, that it was way more relaxed.
All right. So as we close off, Raquel, you've got a few months here. What's next before you head off to Spain?
So I have my visa appointment coming in June. We have to still get a bunch of documents because Spain is one of the most strict. You have to have a lot of documents for Spain, and then with those documents you need to get apostilles and translations, and so that's what me and my mom are currently working on, and then just continuing to learn the language and becoming more fluent as best I can, and then I have to take A2 testing before I go to make sure I'm at least a little bit fluent.
Okay. And Lena, when do you head home? And between now and then, what do you have planned?
My parents are coming soon, May 28th, and we are going on a little trip together to the West Coast and to Florida. And then I head home officially June 21st. So then I am basically testing out of this year because I don't get any credit for towards my high school. So if I test out successfully, I will be a senior next year. So.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you very much, ladies. Thank you, audience, for your time and listening to these ladies. Hopefully, we have reached out to Liberty Doctor, who, as you know, is a Hicksville student who is currently exchanging in Switzerland. So hopefully, Liberty will be able to respond back to us and we can catch up with her. Then after we hear from Liberty, we'll go back to Jack and Gideon at the desk. So have a good one, Aces.
I just filmed this whole video and I realized that I forgot to turn the camera on, so this is take 2. Hi, I'm Liberty and I'm an exchange student in Switzerland this year. I live in Core, Switzerland, so it's about 2 hours north from Milan, if you know where that is in Italy, and it is the oldest city in all of Switzerland, so it's very beautiful here, and it's right in the middle of the Alps, so I'm surrounded by Alps, and I could show you, but I'm not going to. But there's Alps at the window right now. Incredibly beautiful. It is amazing here. The beautiness. What does the school like? The school here is huge. It's about 2,000 kids. It runs sort of like a college, and it has a block schedule. There's 4 different buildings. We walk around every day. For me, is different. One thing that I find weird about the school is lunches are so long. I have a 3-hour lunch constantly. Today my lunch was 3 hours, which is pretty crazy. It's definitely a big change. So, I got here on August 3rd and I'm leaving mid-July. So, by the end of this, I'll have been gone for 11 months in about 2 weeks. So, it's a very long time. And school here is much longer than at home. It is from the beginning of August to the end of June. So, very long school time, honestly. But we do have a lot more breaks. We have sport break, spring break, fall break. And sport break is solely for skiing. It's crazy how many people ski here. Yes, I've gone skiing. Yes, I am horrible, but it was fun. The language is definitely the hardest, with the Swiss German being totally different than the German. Being away from home is hard, but it is not that bad. Yes, I miss my family. Yes, I miss my friends, but you can find new family and new friends here, and I think that is very important in your exchange, trying to live your life. And yeah, I've definitely got over the homesickness. I haven't been homesick for about 3 months, and honestly, I'm getting homesick for Switzerland, I don't want to go home. Yes, I want to see yes, I want to see you guys, but I would rather stay here. For me, when things get hard, I started running. I do journal a lot, or I go outside, go on a walk, hang out with my friends, anything but talking to people from the US. It gets much harder when you talk to people from home because you just know that you have people waiting there for you instead of trying to live in the moment. Most people here do not drive. People can drive, yes, there's cars, but you can't get your license till you're 18, so you don't see people driving that often. They have public transportation, which is incredible. I take a bus every day to school. I take a train constantly anywhere I need to go. For example, if I need to go to Zurich, I take the train. And I go to Zurich quite often. It's 2 hours away, but it's not that bad because everyone meets in Zurich, so we always go there. But I love the public transportation here, and I wish there was more of it in the US. People walk here everywhere in Europe. At home, yes, they walk a lot, but in Hicksville, I feel like there's not really anywhere to walk. But here, you walk everywhere. So I think that's just normal. Like for me, I walk 20 minutes to school every day after I take the bus. So after I take the bus, I get to the middle of town and then I walk 20 minutes to school. And then I walk 10 minutes to practices. Literally anything is always walking. People just don't drive normally. It's not normal because also gas is really expensive here in Switzerland. Something that feels normal now, maybe the walking everywhere and people go grocery shopping maybe every day, every other day, but at home, most families do it about one time a week. But I don't know why they don't do it multiple times a week here. I think it's so it's more fresh, but I think I've gotten used to it because I go with my host siblings to go grocery shopping, so I think that's very nice. I have learned how to be independent. I was independent before, yes, but I think there's something about living practically alone in a different country for a year that makes you more independent. You realize not to rely on your parents and your friends. Yes, you should love your parents and your friends, but you're not going to have them forever. And I think it's really important that you learn about yourself, what your needs are, what you can do, how you can grow through things. So I've definitely learned to be more independent, and I've definitely built up a newfound confidence. Just talking to other people, I've learned not to be embarrassed anymore. Obviously, I still get embarrassed, but I think embarrassment holds people back. And here, embarrassment is part of the process. If you're not embarrassed, you're not trying. And you're not going to see these people ever again. Well, maybe some people, but you're basically not going to see them ever again. So you might as well try new things. My favorite experience of my exchange so far with Swiss things has been Fastnacht. Fastnacht is a festival meaning to scare the winter spirits away, to bring in the spring weather, and it was incredible. It was 5 weekends long, I think, and it was a festival, music, dancing, everyone was there. It was so fun. You got to meet so many more people. I made so many friends, and I got to hang out with my friends that I already had, and I just thought it was incredible. And with exchange student things, I got to go see the Matterhorn. So I got to go see the mountain that is in the Toblerone candy, and it was incredible. It was so beautiful, and I love the Rotary. It's very fun, and we do a lot of get-togethers, and we have these cool jackets, and you get to meet new friends. And I met my best friends ever here. Yes, I know I love my friends so much at home, but I just don't think that anyone will be more like you than the people you surround yourself with. Like, there's something different about a connection between exchange students who have left their family, came to the same country you are. You are bonded in a way that just no one, no, it's irreplaceable and it's incredible. And I love my friends. Some advice for someone thinking about doing exchange, I would say do it. This has been the best experience of my life, and I would not change it for a thing. Yes, it has been hard. I'm not here to tell you it's not been hard because it has. There's been so many downs, but there's been so many more ups. This is coolest thing I've ever done in my life. And the most important thing I've ever done in my life, I mean, if you're thinking about doing exchange, you gotta go do it. It seems scary. Yeah, I know. I was terrified. The day of my flight, I was so scared. I left my family and my friends in the airport while I was in the security line. I was so scared. I was literally, people were walking up to me asking me if I was okay. I was not okay. But now, I'm okay. So, if you're thinking about exchange, you need to do it. And even if you don't want to do exchange, I think everyone should live somewhere alone or somewhere far away from home at least one time in your life, whether it be 2 weeks, 4 years. I think you need to learn how to be alone with yourself and grow in your own way. Why it's worth it? Because you can have, this is the most worth it experience ever. You can have the coolest experience ever. Like, if you were to tell me 4 years ago that I'm living in Europe at school, basically not doing anything, I would I would be like, no, there's no way. Like, it's so worth it. You help make the coolest experiences you've ever had in your whole entire life. Like, it's insane the things I've done here. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you guys when I get home and tell you about a lot of my experiences. And if you want to see what I'm doing, follow my Instagram. And if you want to see what I'm doing, follow my Instagram, please. And if literally anyone has any questions, just DM me, because I love talking about this and I'll never stop talking about this because I love to talk. So thank you guys and see you soon. Bye.